Maybe it's even worse, and it's the fact that people are having to take second and third jobs. Maybe it's the fact that inflation is crippling so many households. Maybe it's the fact that people can't pay their bills and now they're putting their kids to work. I think that could be a real case here. The US economy just added nearly 200,000 jobs, but is that actually a good thing? I don't know so much about that. Hey, if you're just tuning in, my name is Christopher. You'll cover the biggest headlines of the day and what the AI trading data has to say about it. And if you're interested in that too, be sure to definitely hit the subscribe button down below and start trading with AI today. Head to OVTLYR.com to see why outliers win. Now, let's take a look at this. The US economy added 199,000 jobs in November. Unemployment rate unexpectedly falls. Job growth rise more. I think they need to rewrite that. The job growth has risen more than expected in October, while unemployment rate ticks down. I don't know if ChatGPT wrote this or what, but I see two errors in that one sentence. So let's take a look at this. The U.S. job growth continued to chug along at a healthy pace in November, suggesting that the labor market remains resilient, even in the face of higher interest rates, stubborn inflation, and economic uncertainties. Right? The unemployment rate unexpectedly fell to 3.7% after rising 3 straight months, driven by a sizable drop in the jobless rate for teenagers. Okay, this is where it all breaks apart. Driven by a sizable drop in the jobless rate for teenagers. Do we not actually think that teenagers are looking at the winter break coming up, looking at that, all of the seasonal opportunities out there in retail and everything else, and saying, I should probably get a job? Or maybe it's even worse than that. Maybe it's even worse, and it's the fact that people are having to take second and third jobs. Maybe it's the fact that inflation is crippling so many households. Maybe it's the fact that people can't pay their bills and now they're putting their kids to work. I think that could be a real case here, right? In another show of strength of the economy, average hourly earnings, a key measure of inflation, increased 0.4% for the month, which is great. It remains up 4% from the same time 1 year ago. That is great news, right? It's not always doom and gloom. We have a 4% increase from last year. That is some great news. Absolutely. Let's go down here. Job growth was concentrated in a handful of sectors, with the biggest being healthcare, government, and leisure and hospitality. The labor market has remained historically tight over the last year, defying economists' expectations for a slowdown. But there are some signs that cracks are beginning to appear after last year's blistering pace of growth. I think the real cracks are the fact that people are working day jobs and then they're getting night jobs. Maybe they're driving Uber or DoorDash or something like that just to keep up with inflation, right? They may say that there's all these new jobs created, but are they the one job for that person? I would venture not. I would venture a large majority of the 199,000 that were created were a second or even a third job. And they even said themselves, a lot of these are from teenagers. Teenagers looking for seasonal employment, or maybe just helping out their household. So I don't think all is sunshine and roses here. In fact, I think they're trying to cover up the fact that there are a lot of people hurting, right? Sorting through the noise, the picture is emerging one of a resilient but cooler labor market. Job gains have become less broad-based, labor demand continues to fall, and jobless claims are creeping higher as a sign of softer conditions. Right? That's not the soft landing that the Fed is shooting for. It's softer conditions like, hey, recessionary type environment here. And I would not put this past the Biden administration to try and skew all these numbers in the best way they can to tell you this is not recessionary. This is great news. Don't you understand how awesome this is? That employment is going up and up. We have so many more people employed. When they have more people employed, they collect more tax revenue. And God knows we need all the tax revenue we can get these days because we're sending it to every other country instead of taking care of America. And a lot of these people, like I continue to say, I don't think that these are their first and full-time and only jobs that they're seeing, right? I think a lot of people are struggling these days, and this is reflective in the jobs numbers here. But beyond all of that, last month when we covered this topic, we talked about how October had added like 185-ish thousand jobs, but the 2 months prior, So August and September, the 2 months prior, they had revised them down by a cumulative 150,000 jobs. So October's gains was equivalent to what the revisions down were of the last 2 months. That's what this administration does. They lie to your face and then release the real numbers later when nobody's looking. And I think that's exactly what we're going to see here. And maybe, 30, 60 days or so, they're going to say, oh, we're going to revise that back down. And in fact, the last 2 months before that, we need to revise down as well. So nobody's actually making any jobs these days. We're just going to revise the numbers and then push them back up so that nobody can keep track of the shell game that we're doing. That's what I see. I don't know about you. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about that. But let's take a look at what the AI trading data says for ADP. The biggest, largest payroll processor out there actually got a sell signal on December 11th. That's today. We got a sell signal today on ADP. And listen, I always pull up ADP whenever we're looking at the jobs numbers because they are the payroll processors. They are the people who are actively seeing how many checks are getting written, how big the checks are getting written, and what is actually going on out there. And if we're seeing a sell signal in this particular company here, ADP, I would definitely be very wary, right? I would be looking to see what is going on, what under the hood is happening out there. And the AI trading data makes that a lot easier for you with just easy buys and sell signals like that. And in fact, if you've been taking a look at ADP and following these signal returns, you'd have seen a 71.91% return, which is not too shabby at all. So if you want to get your hands on these AI trading signals and be one of the first people that knows exactly what the AI trading data is saying, be sure to head to OVTLYR.com right now to see why outliers win. So let's take a look at what the internet is saying about this, right? U.S. employment rate for November came in at 3.7%, below the expectations of 3.9%. This person says, I bet the data gets revised down next month. Oh, that's exactly what I was saying, right? Just wait for the adjustments late on a Friday when nobody is watching, right? Remember when the government actually gave real numbers? I don't know if they actually ever did, but I do know that we've got some major issues out there. And continuing to say that job growth is like amazing, things are great, actually, in my opinion, just shows that the American economy right now is in a worse place than it should be, right? Instead of these people being at home and spending time with their families, these people are out working a second or even a third job just to try to keep up with inflation. And also, what are you going to do about one of these two videos? YouTube thinks that you're going to love one of them. It tells me every single time we make a video, these are the videos that you want to see next. So be sure to click one of those to watch more, and I'll see you on the next episode.